This is the Zhejiang region. Sarul's sister's brother-in-law has leased 1,300 hectares of land from the government so he can grow grain crops. He makes a lot of money, but his real pride and joy are his horses.
I like horse racing. It's my hobby. I love to do it more than anything else. I didn't used to have so many horses, but 10 years ago, I started to expand the herd one by one.
A family of nomads looks after the horses. That includes milking them regularly.
They just said that the horses and cows aren't giving much milk right now. Maybe that's due to the weather. And the noise that the herders make? That's supposed to get the milk flowing.
Sarul says she doesn't really like to ride. It's one of those cliches about Mongolia that she tries to avoid. But today, she makes an exception. Here, they're stirring a big pot of fresh mare's milk.
This is the first stage of the fermentation process. It takes 2 hours to brew it, and they have to churn it regularly.
Fermented mare's milk is Mongolia's national beverage. Even Genghis Khan is said to have enjoyed it. It's slightly alcoholic and is supposed to be good for digestion. But for most Europeans, ayrak, or fermented mare's milk, is definitely an acquired taste.
Mare's milk has lots of benefits. It's like medicine. It also tastes good and is good for you. And it has lots of vitamins.
Here's a shepherd with his flock of sheep and goats. Sarul explains why she has a special affection for the goats.
Das sind meine Mitarbeiterinnen.
The cashmere goats are my co-workers, so to speak, just big balls of wool. Here you can see the natural colors of the wool, grey, brown, white and black.
The soft underfleece grows best in cold weather. At the end of winter, the fleece is combed out and processed to remove impurities. Goats don't produce much fleece. A single cashmere sweater, for example, may contain wool from up to 4 goats.
My work allows me to visit Mongolia so I can combine business and pleasure, but I always do what's best for my business.
Sarul doesn't seem to be interested in the wool of these yaks, even though many consider yak wool a superior alternative to cashmere. It's time now to focus on the business end of the trip.
I drive to Ulaanbaatar early in the morning. The roads are bumpy, which wakes me up.
Sarul is on her way to a knitting mill in the Mongolian capital. She's been working with the staff for years.
In theory, I could have the wool produced in China or Bangladesh, but I don't. I want it produced in Mongolia. First of all, this is my homeland, and I want to keep people working. Second, the wool comes from Mongolia. Third, there's a legally mandated minimum wage here. When I call the mill and someone says that they're working on clothes for my collection, it makes me happy. I have a real working relationship with these people, and it's sustainable. When I come in here, it's like a toy store or a candy store for me. I love looking at all the colors and seeing what the wool looks like before it becomes part of my line of clothing. The material has a special feel and even a special smell. And when I'm back in Germany in my studio, I think of it and feel inspired.
This young man is programming the computer that runs the knitting machines. He has all the patterns right here in the office. He's developed a lot of new patterns with geometrical figures and plant motifs. One of the patterns is controversial in most Western countries, the swastika.
This pattern is very popular not only in Mongolia, but throughout Asia. It's a symbol of eternity, no beginning and no end. In our language, we call it tumun, tumunas, literally 10,000 years. I have mixed feelings about this pattern. I know that on the one hand, the symbol is banned, but here it's a very popular symbol. Different cultures, different patterns. These are two worlds, and there are different feelings about that.
The Mongols were great warriors. They conquered almost half the known world, including parts of Europe. Maybe that's why others use the swastika symbol, because the Mongols were invincible.
Here, Cyril meets with a Mongolian designer to discuss patterns for next season's collection. It's a long way from her first sketches made in Plauen to the final product here in Mongolia. And of course, the design is only really brought to life when a customer starts wearing it. But Cyril knows how to put her ideas across. She has a college degree in communication studies. Cyril, her sister-in-law Oyuna, and brother-in-law Himasan are flying to Mongolia's lake country, about 1,400 kilometers from Ulaanbaatar.
I'm both German and Mongolian, so I may have some very idealistic thoughts about my country. You see the pristine natural landscape, but then you realize that civilization has really encroached on it here. There's a lot of new construction. That's fine, because a country should develop itself. But we also see the same sort of corruption that's found in other countries, particularly in the developing world. Many people in Mongolia are upset about that.
The music blaring from the loudspeaker here at the bus station is coming from an indoor market nearby.
The transition to capitalism has been difficult for Mongolia. People had no idea how to deal with a market economy. I remember that during one of my visits, there was nothing in the shops. People used food stamps, but they learned pretty quickly how capitalism works. Many of them went overseas to get an education. Others took the first steps by getting into commerce. Because Mongolia doesn't really have a manufacturing sector, people decided to start importing goods like food, clothing, cars, just about anything.
Lebensmittel, Klamotten, Autos, alles Mögliche.
Himerson built this market himself, and his wife Oyuna is in charge of renting the stalls.
Does camel's milk taste different from mare's milk?
Sure, and it's good for you when you get a winter cold, but camel's milk isn't easy to find.
Is it difficult to find goods to sell way out here?
It is. The region is close to the Russian border, and a lot of people import food products from Russia. Most of the other goods, clothes for example, come from China, from Beijing.
Oyuna's husband comes from the Ufs region. He studied in Russia and then worked for the government in Ulaanbaatar until the collapse of communism.
I've been running my own businesses since 1991. That's 23 years. I've worked in the sheepskin industry, in agriculture, tourism, and car repair in the transport sector. I've got experience in a lot of different areas.
Since 2004, he's been investing in his home region. That's really important to him these days.
Over the last few years, I've seen a lot of investment in building new roads and improving old ones. People are investing in the extraction of natural resources. That's caused some controversy because a lot of foreign investors are interested, and the government's been awarding contracts to them. But many Mongolians don't want to see so many foreign investors here. It's a touchy subject.
Himerson is interested in investing in natural resources. Mongolia is rich in copper, gold and rare earth metals. It's time now to relax, so everyone's off to Lake Kyagas, a few hundred kilometers east of Ulaangom. Himerson runs a summer camp here.
Mongolians are very hospitable people. They're also quite curious. They always welcome visitors. You don't have to make an appointment. I don't understand why in Germany you have to make an appointment for just about everything, even to see your friends. I tell people they should just drop by, but that doesn't happen very often.
This is the first time Sarul has been here.
This place is pretty remote. It's close to the Russian border, about 1,000 kilometers from Ulaanbaatar. I've never had time to come here, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like. It was already dark when we got here, but tomorrow we'll be able to see the lake, the desert, and the camels. But right now I'm going to bed so I can get up early tomorrow.
The group's hosts are butchering a sheep in honor of the guests.
He's reaching in and opening the aorta. The first drops of blood are a sacrifice to nature. It's a way to give thanks for our food.
Foreign visitors might find this ritual a bit unsettling.
It doesn't seem so cruel to me. They killed the sheep for food, and they'll use every part of it. That's the way of life here.
This trip to Mongolia has been a real inspiration for Sarul. She's picked up many new ideas for clothing designs.
When I'm in Europe in general, and in Germany in particular, I miss Mongolia's landscape. They don't have these wide open spaces that are so pleasing to the eye. The land is wild and primitive, and that gives a person a solid foundation. You become one with nature. There's nothing artificial here. This land reflects the essence of the nomads who live here.
Sarul's brother-in-law has some camels, and this shepherd is caring for them. In fact, he's looking after several herds.
There are fewer camels here. Look over there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them.
They're huge. The humps are hard, unbelievable. But it's amazingly comfortable.
Only a few travellers come here during the summer. The real focus here is not on tourism, but on the animals, which supply wool, milk and meat. And of course, there are the camel races, which are held every winter. It can get bitterly cold here, sometimes down to -40°C. Sarul's hosts have been preparing the sheep for their guests. Meat is very important for nomads. They can't survive without it. The fat from the meat gives you energy. It can get down to -40°C in winter and more than 40 degrees in the summer, sometimes even 60 in the Gobi Desert.
In the cold, you need the fat from the meat to survive. You won't find any vegetarian nomads. I'm worried that Mongolia's beautiful and unique natural environment may be damaged once the nomads can no longer follow their traditional way of life. I hope that the changes don't come too quickly and that some thought is put into preserving our culture and environment.
This nearby prayer mound is supposed to bring peace, wisdom and happiness.
When you're a teenager, you try to fit in with the other kids. You try to look like they do so you'll be accepted. You don't want to stand out in a crowd. But because I'm Asian, people in Germany notice me. I feel pretty much like I'm German, but they see me as a Mongolian. Still, if you can accept the fact that you've grown up in two different countries and two different traditions, it can be quite satisfying. Maybe it's inappropriate for me to say I'm special, but yes, I've finally figured out who I am and where I belong.